It's Friday, 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 and you know what that means.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 347 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
And I am the brainless one. And Jay, before the podcast, you had mentioned to me what a crazy news week we've had.
Yeah. Just 1 second. I don't know if I'm gonna go off for a millisecond, but I'm trying to get us live on Instagram this evening. So give me a second. You keep going on though.
I just think from the time that we closed off this podcast last week to the time we started off the podcast this week, so much craziness has happened. And it's all because of one individual, Hollywood Dwayne Johnson, making an appearance last week on SmackDown, has completely and utterly decimated all plans heading into WrestleMania. This is unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. I'm still in shock because I wasn't expecting The Rock to come out. They got us there. The fact that The Rock is challenging Roman, it's like, bro, he should have been in the Royal Rumble then. It's like you guys had an unfortunate circumstance that has occurred because the person who was supposed to win the Royal Rumble wasn't able to win the Royal Rumble because he got hurt in the match. So the fact that you guys had to call an audible and obviously it's the decision they had to make because what are you going to do? It's either CM Punk or Cody Rhodes, and you can't really have an injured CM Punk, win the Royal Rumble. It's that would be silly. But now you've put yourself in a predicament where it's like now Cody needs to challenge somebody for the championship. You've been absolutely hammering him finishing the story against Roman Reigns because that's the championship that Dusty never won. That was the championship his dad held over his head at Madison Square Garden 45 plus years ago. That's the title that he needs to finish his story with. Because at the time, that was the only championship that was there because Roman had all the titles. Now Seth gets this new title introduced about a year ago. Now you want him to back pivot to that? No, you kind of put yourselves into a deeper situation, especially now that The Rock's involved. It's crazy. But the outcry, the fans coming out and supporting Cody Rhodes, because yes, it's silly. What was Cody supposed to do? He needs to finish his story. The only person he can finish his story against is Roman Reigns. Him going after Seth Rollins makes absolutely zero sense.
Right.
So now,
even though they did their absolute best they possibly could on Monday to try to have Seth try to talk Cody into it, that was a week and a half ago. In this past week or on Monday, it was more or less Seth trying to continue to get Cody to have the match against him at WrestleMania. And before Cody could really answer, Drew McIntyre comes out. And then more or less the story just kind of got punted until the press conference. Now, before the press conference, The Rock did go on Pat McAfee's show. And stated that all the things that have been going on for years was all leading up to this moment, leading for him and Roman to have this match. The fact that Roman was called head of the table, he's like, no, I'm head of the table, this, that, and the other thing. And he specifically said, when I came out and mentioned that I was supposed to be the main event of WrestleMania 39, all those things mean something. When we got the press conference, you understood a bit more. Because that whole thing about mentioning WrestleMania 39 and more or less making Cody appear to, Cody was their second choice for WrestleMania 39. So a slight dig at Cody by saying that. Then my favorite line in the whole press conference was Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, when he said, y'all are a bunch of twos looking at the ones. You don't deserve to be here, more or less. So that was what The Rock said, but like instead of it being at least more veiled, this one was like a direct, like, yeah, like you're not on our level. You really don't deserve to be here. But then Cody, coming out and saying, no, I get to choose. You don't get to choose this. I get the choice. And everything that ensued from that, because I think when The Rock came out and, Cody had a talk with The Rock, and The Rock apparently, like, oh, yep, I talked with somebody, and yep, he knows you really well. And Rock comes out, thunderous ovation, thunderous. People were not upset about it, at least Friday night in the arena. But the second, like, it kind of
marinated,
it's like, oh, wait a second. He's talking him out of this to, like, push himself to the front of the line here. What the hell? Cody holds the cards, and Rock is, like, manipulating him to try to get this spot. And I was stewing on it as much as it didn't make any sense on Friday last week. I'm like, The Rock isn't dumb enough to do this. Not like this. And when you hear that on Monday, they were purposely passing out "We Want Cody" signs. And I am not entirely convinced that there weren't a couple of plants from WWE in the audience starting the "Rocky Sucks" chant. I'm not entirely convinced that did not happen. The word out there is saying, like, nope, WWE is completely taken aback by the reaction to The Rock. It's like, nah, I think this was part of the plan. And when Cody tweeted out people kind of complaining about what was going on, he said, trust me, it's fine. It's fine. I freaking love this. I have no idea what they're going to do. But all of the roads they could go down, to me, are extremely exciting. All of them.
All the roads, especially down Cody roads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really, should we be that surprised that they were handing out Cody Rhodes, "We Want Cody" signs? This isn't the first time they were handing out things for Cody Rhodes to the fans.
Right.
Maybe that's what they'll do now. Because The Rock kind of put Cody in his place. Maybe tonight when they're on SmackDown, The Rock will be out there handing out paper bags for all the Cody fans.
I think that would be great.
If they brought that back, that would be the greatest thing ever.
Yes.
Next to the Punjabi pudding.
I want it.
Yes. But it was just crazy because, like, it wouldn't make any sense. You had Cody win the Royal Rumble. Yes, granted, it was an extenuating circumstance that he won the Royal Rumble, but still, you're going to have him take a back seat to The Rock, kind of having shades of 2013 all over again, to the point where Michael Cole last night during the pre-show, where the panel was him, Pat McAfee, CM Punk, and Big E.
But by the way, CM Punk was great last night, and Big E is still a GOAT.
And I still got my box of Bootios.
Yes.
I had to bust those out because Big E was on last night. And it was just crazy how Michael Cole even meant, like, he asked the Punk, what was it like having The Rock take your spot from you in 2013? And it's like, it just felt a little awkward with some of the things that we're saying. But I mean, the fact that Punk made the comment at the end of it saying that, there's some personal feelings after all of it kind of unfolded the way it did last night. And he goes, there's personal feelings and animosity in this. He goes, there's money to be made when there's real life shit going on. And you had that subtle jab at the Bucks and Kenny. And it's like, this just keeps getting better and better.
I think all of us, like, after last Friday, were kind of like going, everything that they've been doing, since Triple H has had the book has mostly made sense. What the F are they going to do with this? And as Tim said in the comments, I'm here for heel Rock.
I think we all are.
I love this. And one thing with the press conference, it's like the head of the table felt like it was The Rock. And it did have to kind of go that way because Cody and Roman already have issue. Up until the press conference, Rock and Cody didn't have issue.
No.
So The Rock needed to be prominent as far as that goes. And kind of coming together and figuring out a way to come together with his cousin. Even though, as we know, like, there truly isn't any blood, but, you know, the way they had, you know, the family tree, you know, of the bloodline, and the way they explained it, and, you know, being part of Samoan culture, they made a blood oath. So in their mind, that makes them blood relatives. And now you're messing with my family, and no, that's not cool. I enjoyed that immensely. That graphic needs to be made into a t-shirt.
I love the fact that people are already fucking with it and like putting other shit like the Japanese Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons and a couple other ones that I've seen out there. I just love it, but this has gotten me hooked. And now I'm even more intrigued because now what are they going to do? Are they going to do Cody versus Roman? Are we going to get Roman versus The Rock night 1? Are we going to get Cody versus Seth? Are we going to get a tag team match? Are Roman and The Rock going to team up against Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes? Is Cody Rhodes going to have to wrestle twice? Are they going to unify the championships? And if they unify the championships, because that got thrown out around, and I don't know how pissed I would be at that. I think that would be absolutely stupid.
Right.
Because the whole point of all of this and the reason that we even have a second championship is because Roman has all the titles. I know that FMR's Hall of Famer El Jefe would be thrilled if Roman got to carry around like 4 belts.
Right.
Put all the belts on him. But it's so crazy because now here we are. I think we're exactly 2 months from WrestleMania. We have no idea what's going to happen. We know Cody just challenged Roman Reigns. Is that it?
That has to happen. He was the Royal Rumble winner.
But like, is it
challenged the champion he wants to go against? So if they end up having issue where it ends up being Seth and Cody, because they did make Seth a not super prominent part, but a prominent enough part of this, where it feels like they may team up. They also did mention Jey Uso. Do we end up getting The Rock and Roman versus Cody and Jey in Perth? I'm sure The Rock, if he's going to have a WrestleMania match, wouldn't mind having a tune-up match. And The Rock on McAfee did mention, like, hey, I've got a ring in Hawaii. I've got a ring, I think he said, in California. I'm going to guess he has one in his home. Or I think he said he had one in Vegas. He might have even mentioned, I don't know if he said anything about his home in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. All that being said, there are a lot of possibilities. Another possibility for me out there would be, I think this would be an interesting way to do it. Have Cody and The Rock on night 1. Have The Rock win. Then Cody goes against Roman for his duly earned title shot and wins the title. Then I'd love to see, fast forward to SummerSlam, The Rock versus Cody in the main event. And The Rock puts over Cody. And then eventually we get like the split up of the bloodline, you know, with the temporary kind of like coming together of, you know, Roman and Rock. And then WrestleMania 41, we get The Rock versus Roman. All that being said, I think that is highly unlikely with the fact that The Rock said he is shooting the live action version of Moana at some point this year. So it would be highly unlikely in that scenario, but I would love to see it play out similar to that, because that's kind of sort of what happened in the Brett Yokozuna Lex Luger thing, where Brett ends up losing to his brother in the first match, but then wins the title at the end of the night. but that set up his next feud, his next big feud after that. So I think that could be a way to, oh, wait, he lost to The Rock. Yeah, he won the title the next night, but we've got somebody who beat him. It's a way forward. I don't think it'll be the way forward. I think it will be 2 matches at WrestleMania. I think it's going to be the tag match. And then, having, what the heck you call it, Cody go for the title, main event night 2. The one thing that would be, I guess, slightly concerning on the Seth end is, like, he'll be still freshly kind of healing from his surgery. 2 matches is an awful lot. It's like, hey, a tag match, you can hide him a bit. But then he'd have to have, I think he would probably also have a title match against whoever wins in the Elimination Chamber in Australia. So Seth would be pulling double duty, and I'm sure he would be completely fine with pulling double duty. I don't know if his knee or his wife would be in love with that idea.
Or his back.
Right.
I really, honestly, I kind of want to take what you said and just take it a step further. If they do kind of build towards like The Rock and Cody Rhodes and they wrestle night 1, you could kind of do like what they did at WrestleMania, 10 years ago, WrestleMania 30. You can either have a situation where if Cody wants to be in this match, even though he won the Royal Rumble, he has to beat The Rock to start the show. And if he beats The Rock, then he gets the match against Roman Reigns. Or they could do something like you mentioned with the whole Brett and Lex Luger thing from WrestleMania, like, Roman Reigns, or like The Rock and Cody. I have Roman on the brain for whatever reason. You do The Rock and Cody to start off night 1. If The Rock, whoever wins that match, gets the match against Roman that night in the main event. Rock beats Cody. Rock goes and wrestles Roman Reigns in the main event. You can have either one of them win, because then Cody gets his match in night 2 in the main event. If you want to avoid, this is the way, if you want to do an alternative where you don't use Seth more than once in the weekend. But I really do think that a tag team match with it's Seth and Cody versus Roman and The Rock to night 1, where Cody can wrestle like 85% of the match and Seth can just come in for the fun bumps and all that shit, and then he's still kind of fresh for his match in night 2. Or you can have him lose in a quasi squash match after he wrestled night 1. You can have Gunther go out there and beat him in like 7 minutes.
Right.
There's ways around it.
Or even 19 seconds.
Right. A second longer than when Sheamus beat Daniel Bryan.
We got Jessica in the comments saying she thinks it's going to be one idea, Cody versus Roman. Cody wins night 2. Cody Seth versus Roman and Rock. And she thinks Seth is going to be leaving because of his knee and rest. And all the bloodline is going to come in and take out Cody and Seth, and Damian Priest could cash in.
That's not a terrible idea.
Tim, hashtag Cody Crybabies. When The Rock said that at McAfee, in the McAfee interview, it's like going, Now, The Rock was trying in that interview to kind of break things down, like going, hey, there are the Cody fans, and there's Cody, and then he's like, there's the crybaby Cody fans. And when he said that, it's like People's Champ cutting down anybody should have been a good sign that, like, oh, I got you. If you notice during the press conference, Roman started like smiling and like shaking his head like, oh yeah, Cody's crybabies.
That was The Rock. Y'all want to know what Dwayne really is? That was The Rock on Pat McAfee's show. That was beautiful. I enjoyed every second of that because it was The Rock being The Rock. It wasn't Dwayne Johnson being the Tooth Fairy or somebody from Jumanji or Moana or whatever it is. No, that was The Rock. That's who that was. That was the pie-eating, jabroni-beating, eyebrow-raising, trailblazing, people's champ, The Rock. That's who that was.
Even though they gave him a microphone that didn't work at the beginning.
You know, maybe it was good because maybe they thought it was going to be like Hulk Hogan and he was going to say something that was completely false. That's what we need. We need Hulk Hogan on the Pat McAfee show. And McAfee just lets him talk. Whatever you want to talk about, Hulk. We'll talk about anything. Tell me about how you saved the bus, the fiery bus for the 20 children, you know, and you lifted it up with your 27-inch pythons and you body slammed the bus and it exploded, but not a single child was harmed. That's what we need. We need Hulk Hogan on the McAfee show.
When they did Mr. America doing the polygraph test, was that the ultimate rib? Everything Mr. America said was truthful, brother. Everything.
I mean, to be fair, Cousin Jay, this is the same individual who, and I swear under oath, said that Hulk Hogan has a bigger penis than Terry Bollea. So, honest to goodness, I believe everything Mr. America says, because why wouldn't I believe that Hulk Hogan has a much bigger penis than Terry Bollea, even if, spoiler alert, Terry Bollea is Hulk Hogan?
Why wouldn't we believe that Mr. America isn't Hulk Hogan?
Brother. I mean, just because he looked like him and he was wearing it, it was the mask. Couldn't tell that it was Hulk Hogan. I'm not gonna lie. That was during my period of time where I stopped watching, and that was actually one of the things that I'm kind of glad that I missed. That the Heidenreich's entire career, Billy and Chuck, jeez, 3-minute warning. 3-minute warning. There was a lot. I'm so glad there was so much wrestling in like the early 2000s that I missed out on, that I can't sit here and say, wow, I'm glad that I got to watch the Basham brothers.
Right. Chris Brown, hello to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in. Always appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I come back to like what they did at the press conference, you know, with the main event level folks on the male side. We didn't know what was going to happen. We end up having The Rock slapping Cody Rhodes in the face. Cody not retaliating. And Roman more or less following The Rock's lead after that. And then when they had the interview with Triple Paul and talking about like, sometimes egos get in the way of business, blah, 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 blah. And The Rock saying, hey, you got to fix this. You know, because I'm not going to have anybody talking about my family like this. I really like I dig it all. This is not the story that I thought was going to happen.
No, I did not either.
I'm glad, because you know what? Heel Rock is not what we expected, but what we deserve. I enjoy heel Rock. And this one is a little bit, at least so far, more realistic. You know, not being way over the top. It's like, hey, man, you mess with my family. Nah. F you.
I'm sorry. I was laughing because I was picturing that whole segment with The Rock and he's all pissed off at at Triple H and everything like that, and just thinking like Shawn Michaels standing next to him and Shawn going to Triple H. Was he talking to you or was he talking to me? I couldn't tell.
Right.
I was looking at both of you at the same time. I couldn't tell if he was yelling at me or you.
Am I right or am I right?
Right. Yeah. Now I need Shawn Michaels as a part of this, just because I know how much The Rock does not like Shawn Michaels.
I think The Rock has made his peace with Shawn Michaels, but I don't think he'll ever be completely 100% okay with him, just because like there was that benefit show that Shawn Michaels was an absolute shit at, and Rock's like that's not cool, bro. Spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool.
By the way, speaking of Shawn Michaels, I finally had the opportunity last week to watch the much anticipated Marty Jannetty episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
Where he kind of admits maybe a little bit that he may have murdered somebody.
I don't know what to make of what I witnessed in that episode for 40 some odd minutes. It was nothing what I was expecting, but it was exactly what I was expecting. Because I had no idea what to expect from Marty Jannetty. And now everything makes sense. Everything makes sense. That man, if you look up the definition of a dumpster fire in the dictionary, there's a picture of him with that definition. That was, I don't even have words for that, especially because the episode right before that, I got to watch Vince Russo.
Bro.
And I punched myself in the face every time he said bro. I don't remember what happened. It was like 12 minutes into the episode, and I had already punched myself like 49 times. And then I blacked out, and the next thing I know, Marty Jannetty was on my TV.
Yeah.
At least I keep telling myself I was punching myself in the head every time he said bro. Every time he showed up on my screen, I just felt the need to punch myself in the face because it was Vince Russo.
Talking about Captain Insano here and people who have lost their mind. This morning, Billy Jack Haynes allegedly may have killed his wife. I don't know if you have ever watched any shoot interview with Billy Jack Haynes. Every one that I've seen, the dude kind of seems certifiable. As much as I watched WrestleMania 3 up the wazoo.
Yep.
I remember the battle of the Full Nelson.
Yep.
Between him and Hercules Hernandez at the end of the match. After he lost, Hercules ended up using his chain and busting Billy Jack Haynes open. Billy Jack Haynes was not long for the WWF after that. But when that dude has done shoot interviews, you're like, yeah, I understand why you didn't last much longer. I understand exactly why you didn't last very long while you were there. You're bonkers. It's just, if what's being reported out there is true, I mean, it's just sad. Like, clearly a dude with mental health issues, killing his wife. That's what it seems like.
Terrible. And honest to goodness, other than that performance against Hercules Hernandez from WrestleMania 3 that I had to watch many years after the fact, that's really my only experience with actually watching Billy Jack Haynes. The only other time I even hear about Billy Jack Haynes is like when one of the legends like Jim Ross or, Jerry Lawler talk about him. But it's usually Cornette is the only one I ever hear the name Billy Jack Haynes come out of his mouth. And it's And it's just unfortunate that this is what happened. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of this. It's just bizarre to think that a former wrestler would have murdered his wife. It's nuts.
Well, I mean,
I'm going to have to go
and
watch.
it's not like it was in 2007.
Right.
This one's a little different, where you got some dude who's been retired from the sport for many years, but clearly a couple of screws loose.
With a couple of buddies.
Yeah. But I hope
Yeah.
Yeah, like anybody, anytime somebody dies, and like, I don't know, it's really hard to put it into words, but the dude needs help. He's needed help for a long time. I hope he gets help. I hope that the something will be fixed inside of him, but it seems like he is just broken. I think it feels like he is forever broken. Again, watch any of his shoot interviews. The dude is off.
Oh, I'm absolutely. I have to go and listen to these things. I didn't even know they existed. So now I know what I'm watching as soon as I'm done with the podcast. Oh, I mean, after
absolutely
SmackDown.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts watching them. And the fact with how crazy he seems in the shoot interviews, it's like somebody was married to him, and clearly his wife dealt with a lot dealing with him, and I hope she's at peace now. I mean, she's left the earth, but it's just a weird and strange situation. And Billy Jack Haynes, it's like, as much as you don't want to hope that he did this, seems pretty apparent.
Right. Sad.
Very sad. And as Tim is saying, CTE is a terrible thing. It is.
It is.
But
you know what else was terrible that happened in wrestling this week?
Tony Khan made an announcement.
That isn't where I was going, but we can go there because that is just as bad as it could have been. Yes, Tony Khan did make another announcement announcing that in a few weeks we will be getting, I forget the name of the thing.
I think it's called Big Business.
Big Business in Boston, Massachusetts. They're going to be wicked hot.
Center.
It's going to be wicked hot to park the car. No more Garcia Park, Fenway Park. Wicked pisser. But I just thought it was funny because when they were talking about Boston, there was 2 S's in Boston. I mean, just tell us. Just tell us without telling us. Okay, don't just keep teasing us, Tony, because we know what this means. It means you're just going to give us another goddamn announcement in about a week or 2 about how you're going to make an announcement. That's what we're going to get. You're going to come out on Dynamite and say, hey, I have a huge announcement, and it's going to be that I have a big announcement on Rampage on Friday. And then you're going to come out on Rampage on Friday, hey, I got a huge announcement, and it's going to be that I have a major announcement tomorrow on Collision. Thanks, guys. I have another. And it's just going to be an endless cycle of announcements every single week until that's all we we see on Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision every week is Tony Khan making announcements.
And then eventually he's going to say it's boss time.
Oh, it's big business. That's what I'm thinking they're going to go. It's going to be big business for Monet. If I had to, I mean, I'm thinking I channeled my inner Michael Cole for that one. I feel like that's what we're going to get from the masked moron who can't call a freaking match. It's going to be, and big business is about to pick. I can't wait until Excalibur. Oh, wait, no, I'm not going to have to wait because I don't watch that crap anyway. Just give me another reason to not want to watch AEW. Because I get sucked back in, and then after 3 minutes, I realize why I don't watch the crap. It's stupid. It's terrible. Some guy wrestled Eddie Kingston in a match and lost and got a contract and is now all elite in AEW. Is that what I got to do? Where's Eddie Kingston right now? The Brainless one will wrestle Eddie Kingston. Why? Because then I could become the newest star of AEW. I'll become all elite. And then they thought what CM Punk would do to that locker room was bad. Oh, just wait until I'm sharing a locker room with Twinkle Toes and the fuckheads. Are you kidding me? I'm going to get fired after 20 minutes.
Speaking of the Brainless one getting fired after 20 minutes, I did see out there this week, WWE has an opening in creative.
I already know what
I think you would be perfect for the role of employee for 20 minutes.
But that's WWE. Oh, I could last longer than 20 minutes. It's probably like 45 in WWE, but I could last longer than 20 minutes in WWE. If I had a job, if it was AEW, no, 20 minutes.
That's
because I would see Kenny in the Bucks. No, I gotta go. I can't. What do you want me to talk about? You want me to talk about how the EVP over there wrestles 9-year-old children and fuck dolls? Is that what you want me to mention? Or do you want me to talk about the fact that your other EVPs who are not identical twin brothers, I can't tell which one is which douchebag and the other douchebag. So they're just the douchebags. They're Nick Mac Jackson to me. They're not Nicholas. They're not Matthew. They're just a couple of douchebags that I don't give a shit, and that's where I get fired. That's where Tony says I am in an unsafe work environment as he's doing lines of coke with Michael P.S. Hayes. For some weird reason, he's there. And that's how I get fired from AEW. But I did not know that there was an opening in WWE's creative. Yes. I know exactly what I'm going to write in my resume. I would book better than Shitstain.
Yes.
That's all I got to put.
I don't know how much of a glowing endorsement that would be of your candidacy. Because, I mean, I think he'd be at the bottom of whatever pile, except for maybe Tony Khan's Coke pile. And Chris Brown saying in the comments he hopes Tony Khan watched the presser on Thursday for a master class on how to promote a big event instead of just saying, I've got a big announcement. We're going to make a bigger announcement in a few weeks.
I can see it now. I figured out exactly when I would get fired from WWE Creative. It's because I would be sitting in that stupid meeting, not listening to anything because my thoughts are already going to be made up of what I'm going to do. And I'm going to leave the meeting and I'm going to walk out there and I'm going to go and find one person in particular. There's only one person I want to see in the locker room, and there's only one person I want to work with creatively. Do you dare take a guess who that person would be, Cousin Jay?
I think it's actually two people, but the one person immediately is R-Truth. Clearly, it's R-Truth.
No. You're thinking too hard.
I mean, the next person for me is Randy Orton.
No. I have they put me in the creative team, Cousin Jay.
Oh. I'm sorry. Chris Brown has the bingo. Kevin Owens.
I would beeline to Kevin Owens and say, all right, Kevin, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you this nice pink tutu, and I'm going to give you this nice white top, and there's going to be nothing but frosting around the edges and a giant cupcake on the front. And you're going to have this little tutu and your little dress, and you're going to come out with a giant tray of cupcakes. And then you're just going to make your way to the ring as Captain Cupcake. You will no longer be the prize fighter Kevin Owens. You're going to be the fat piece of shit crybaby Captain Cupcake. You can't take a joke, so now eat shit. Here's your new gimmick. Have fun with it. And it's at that point that I get escorted out of the building by Omos.
So, one thing I think that would take you beyond 20 minutes in AEW.
The Bucks and Kenny might not be there.
No, it's not even that. It's not even that. I think that you would be there long enough to see a full Chris Hero in catering thing.
Oh, yeah. They'd be like, hey, what do you want to go to create? No, I got to go to catering. What time is it now? 7:45 in the morning? Yeah, that's plenty of time for Cassius Ohno to go mauler of meatloaf in the catering department. That's all I need to see. My God, it's like watching the hippos at the zoo. Oh, no. He's going for the meatloaf. Oh, no.
When they were in Norfolk like a month ago, and they went into an area that looked like catering during the Norfolk street fight, and like everything was empty. Like the first room that they went into, I'm like going, I know who was there. Now the second place that they had a little food in there, I'm like going, oh yeah, this was the hidden catering area, not where Urban Liar was like laying in wait in the stadium.
Do you think if he was to wrestle, do you think he has the physical capacity to hold up himself to do that little flip he does where he does the handstand off onto the hardest part of the ring and then lands on it? Do you think it's to a point now if he did that his wrist would shatter?
I don't think so. I don't think him doing that would be the shatter machine.
I think, yes, I think you're right. I think I would last longer than 20 minutes as long as I got to sit in catering and watch Cassius Ohno for 6.5 hours. Then I would hang out with the Danhausen and I would curse everybody. And then that's probably when I bump into Nick and Matt and the other asshole.
Well, I mean, you might run into Pockets.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I just want to see
Pockets and Danhausen.
Pockets and Danhausen. That's all I really want to see.
And Luigi Primo. Although
he was there.
We haven't seen him in a while. But.
I could bump into the Man Scout though.
Yes.
The Man Scout is unofficially all elite.
Man Scout's a go.
Now, I'll tell you right now, if they give me the Man Scout on either Ring of Honor or if the Man Scout, I need to see this. I've only seen it like in a couple times in YouTube videos. And one of them was against a guy named Dan the Dad. I'm
surprised he hasn't gone against Ron Zombie.
I need to find that clip, Jay. I need to find that clip. I just need it's closure after 16 years, Cousin Jay. I need to see that clip because I am still hell-bent because there was only like 19 people in the entire building. I kid. It definitely was a bigger crowd than any crowd that we've ever seen at Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling. But I'm telling you right now, there wasn't enough noise in that building to muffle the cries of that child when he's eating at the gym, Dad.
Yeah.
I need that. I need that. That's my closure. That's me finishing my story. I need to watch Northeast Wrestling Holiday. What the fuck was it? Holiday Havoc, I think it was. Yeah, Holiday Havoc 2008 from Northeast Wrestling, where Matt Taven made his wrestling debut getting squashed by Big Daddy V. Mabel from Men on a Mission. Men on a mission in the house. Put your hands in the air.
Yeah.
Wave them up real high. Men on a mission. Yeah. I was a huge Men on a Mission fan, if anybody was ever wondering.
All right. Tim has a question. Do we think Tony Khan names his sex toys after his wrestlers too? So I think this is a much deeper question than you really. This is a very deep topic. The thing is, I don't know if he has it without paying. And quite honestly, I think he's more into playing cards than playing with anything. And if he has sex toys, I'm almost wondering if it's he names them, and as Billy Idol once said in his lyrics, "Dancing with myself."
If he does, Jay, they're not toys. It's just his action figures he shoves up his ass.
Go get him, Kenny.
Oh, Kenny, it's just like your matches in Japan. I got your fingers on my butthole.
You are really a young buck.
Wow, this is underwhelming and disappointing. It must be Jungle Boy. Oh, damn, that felt like a Samoan cookie. Samoa Joe must have went up there. Oh, oh God. Oh.
Tim put in the comments, pass me the Hobbs, please.
Tony, do you want Britt Baker? No. Why would I want to do anything with the women's division? Why?
Give me the Sting doll.
Why? Why would I want to book the? Why would I want to do anything with the women's division when I could just keep shoving Plumber Mox up my ass? I got Orange Cassidy to give me the thumbs up every time he goes up. I don't know where the fuck you segue from this. Oh, but I have.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna take the dark segue, we'll get into Ashley Mazzaro.
Oh, Jay, I don't even. You gotta give me a second. I was laughing so hard my lungs hurt. Oh.
So, one of the things that has been talked about is that maybe Ashley Mazzaro maybe something with Vince happened with her. Maybe. And John Laurinaitis is not running away from this. Oh, by the way, it appears John Laurinaitis might have hired the worst lawyer in history. But, I mean, we talked about that a little bit last week.
Hold on. Time out real quick before we get into that. I have to ask, since you mentioned the lawyer, is his lawyer either the self-appointed prosecutor or defense attorney from My Cousin Vinny, or is it Charlie Kelly's uncle?
I think it's Chris Parks.
Okay.
Abyss's brother.
So what you're saying is he did not hire David Otunga.
No.
That's where he screwed up. Because honest to goodness, if I couldn't
if you
have
don't get Jerry McDevitt, you gotta get
David Otunga. He is the Undertaker of defense lawyers.
You get Otunga and his his thermos.
Yes.
Exactly.
John
Laurinaitis is kind of sort of backing up many of the rumors that have been out there about Vince and Ashley Mazzaro, and kind of sort of stating, I think actually Ashley did an interview at one point where she talked about some of the things that Vince did that made her really uncomfortable, or it might have been Laurinaitis and his attorney talking about the things that Vince allegedly did to make her uncomfortable, and how Vince would, it sounded like pretty routinely, make out and do things with the various women on the roster. And it was almost kind of understood that that might be part of the thing. Like, Almost like Harvey Weinstein went, well, if you want to be in my movie. Yeah. So, she took her own life 5 years ago.
God damn, that was 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
Fuck.
And she left a young daughter, and I remember this. There was a time, she was gone from WWE for a little bit. They brought her back, I think, a couple of times for when they did like throwback shows. But there was a point where there was, I think, a fake Stephanie McMahon account that said, "Hey, we'd love to have you back." This was on Twitter. And she was like, "Oh, really? I'd love to do this," and what have you. And like, it turned out it was a fake Stephanie McMahon account. And they trolled her. And clearly she was dealing with demons, dealing with mental health issues. And when you hear the story of Janelle Grant and the stuff she's kind of gone through, the mental, like,
Anguish
and abuse that it seems like were perpetuated upon her by Vince. Can you imagine, like, if you were a performer and you decide to rebuff the boss, and apparently Vince generally did not write for the women's wrestlers. Vince was making advances at Ashley, and she rebuffed them. Then Vince started writing her material. Michael Hayes said, "No, shit, no, you shouldn't say this. You shouldn't do this." Only to find out, like, "Oh, Vince wrote this for you? Oh, I'm sorry." Michael Hayes knew it was the end of the road. She knew it was the end of the road. And knowing that Vince had that, she couldn't say no to whatever he wrote. And knowing that Janelle Grant was kind of in a similar situation, but, she wasn't on camera, but was in the middle of a mental storm, and Vince took advantage of it and manipulated it, allegedly. But when you see the things that kind of have come up from Laurinaitis, from even past interviews with Ashley,
just the fact that to know that she was actually raped on that trip that they did when they were doing the tribute to the troops by somebody posing as an army doctor, and then Vince told her to keep it on the down low because we want to keep a good solid relationship with the military so we can keep doing this shit. That is some diabolical evil. That's not even dastardly. That's some fucking
yeah.
The more this unfolds with Vince McMahon, it keeps painting a much, much worse picture for him. And I don't know what to say. This is a man who has brought me 35 years of entertaining wrestling for the most part. And this is a man that I looked up to and idolized because of the fact that he was such a wrestling genius, just to find out that this guy is an absolute piece of shit of a human being. It just keeps getting worse and worse. It's like they always say, you never want to meet your heroes because they're only going to disappoint you. And as Vince gets older, he just keeps disappointing me more and more.
And Mick Foley came out this week and made the statement of, I know I'm paraphrasing and kind of trying to read between the lines with what he's saying. As much as the crap you're seeing out there, talking about Vince, the shitty things he's done, you know, you can't overlook the things he's actually, the good things he's done.
I know. It's
And hearing this from him and seeing this from Mick, a man that I have an awful lot of respect for. For me, I don't put it in so much of a different case than Chris Benoit at this moment. If you have left in your wake dead people directly tied to you, even if you're not the one that, you know, pulled the trigger or it,
pushed them off the ledge.
right, like you may have done some good things, but you know, when I've attempted to watch Redacted's matches, like he was involved with an incredible ladder match at the Royal Rumble.
She was.
I watched the match and was still like, this is a great match. There's nothing I could do to like unwire my brain to know what he did. There's nothing in my brain right now that I could unwire with Vince. In as much as like the top tier talent, many of them talk about Vince as if he were like a father figure. As if he did many good things for them. But if you were not the top of the line, somebody that could earn him a ton of money, I don't know if as many of them thought that way. I know Justin Gabriel came out and kind of said, like, you know, he was always okay with me, eccentric and crazy, but, like, he was always okay.
Right. Yeah, it just doesn't paint a pretty picture of Vince McMahon anymore for me. I'm sorry. I can't. Like you said, it's just like with Scumbag. Like Paul Heyman said, Chris Benoit was one of the 5 greatest wrestlers he's ever seen in the ring, but fuck him, he's a piece of shit. And now it's just to the point now with Vince McMahon, because Vince McMahon has done such great things. Yes, if it wasn't for Vince McMahon, there'd be no
The
WrestleMania.
greatest promoter of all time.
There'd be no WrestleMania, no Hulkamania, none of that stuff. We never would have saw Hogan slam the Giant. We never would have saw The Rock and Austin wrestle 3 times. We wouldn't have seen all the stuff that we have seen in professional wrestling if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. He is a very influential person.
We wouldn't be doing the podcast, quite frankly, if it weren't for Vince McMahon. All that being said, you could be all those things in a piece of shit simultaneously.
Yes.
Where you have crossed lines that, like, you know, you feel even bigger and deeper that Vince took off in his private plane from Saudi Arabia and his wrestlers were held hostage. They ended up getting out of Saudi Arabia safely, but really? You leave your independent contractors there like that.
The picture of Brody Lee, the late great Brody Lee, standing on the tarmac with his arms crossed because they got stuck in Saudi Arabia still haunts me to this day. Because that was actually one of like the last appearances he made for WWE too.
Yeah.
So never like that. I still think the Saudi shit is stupid. But that's neither here nor there. Vince McMahon is just an evil, diabolical piece of shit. And it's just, like I keep saying, it's only going to get worse before it gets any better, and it's going to keep getting worse.
Right.
It's only going to be a matter of time before more names come out.
More names come out, and I really like the product that we're seeing from WWE. I'm hoping that Triple H is not associated with any of this or had any knowledge of this.
My guess is he knew, but Stephanie probably told him not to do anything just because it was her father until it was too late, and then they finally did something, but it was too little too late. And Vince came back anyway. That I wouldn't be surprised. And at that point, I'd have to give Triple H the benefit of the doubt, because it's like you're put in a freaking tough situation. You're in a rock and a hard place because you're married to the boss's daughter. He's a scumbag and he does all this nefarious shit, but you got to act like nothing happens because it's like you might not be his son-in-law anymore, and you'll be out on the street doing nothing and standing on the corner while Motorhead plays your song as Lemmy gets your lyrics all wrong again.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't surprise me if Triple H knew anything that was going on, and it just wouldn't. And it also wouldn't surprise me if it was because Stephanie was like, "No, don't say anything. It's my dad." No.
Right.
Speaking of people who are out of wrestling, how about this for a surprising one? Just like I wasn't expecting The Rock to be a heel in professional wrestling on my wrestling bingo card for 2024, if you had told me, especially after the last couple weeks, that I'd be sitting here today during episode 347, Cousin Jay, and telling you that Scott D'Amore is out of a job at TNA. Scott D'Amore, who brought TNA and Impact back to prevalence, Scott D'Amore, who's done more for that company than anybody else has ever done, is gainfully unemployed. How? How are you going to fire that man? That man is now officially the biggest free agent out there. And I swear he cannot go to AEW because they're going to absolutely ruin him. But he is exactly what AEW needs, and I don't want it to happen. He's got to go to NWA. He needs to go work with Smashing Pumpkins' Billy Corgan. That's what he needs to do. He's going to get wasted in AEW, and he wouldn't go to WWE. But I'm just shocked that Scott D'Amore, who has brought back this company, has done great things, is out at TNA. Which is another thing that's on my bingo card. I can't believe that TNA is getting as much talk on this podcast. TNA has been talked about more on this podcast in the last couple months than the previous 7 years plus of this podcast.
Yeah.
It's just, it's mind-blowing because I'm actually interested in Impact or TNA. And it's because of what Scott D'Amore has been doing. Now I have no interest. You took all the fun and excitement I actually had for the first time ever for TNA, and you took it away from me. Crushed it. Now I have no interest. Because you're bringing in somebody who's not even a mind for professional wrestling. Yeah, that worked out real well, didn't it, huh? When they brought in people like Vince Russo and Jim Herd, people who didn't know what the hell they were doing, and Kevin Dunn, Bucky Beaver. Yeah, he has no idea what the fuck professional wrestling is. That worked out real well. So now you're going to bring in somebody who has no wrestling background in to run professional wrestling for a company that's trying to stay third in a 2-horse race. It just doesn't make any sense. If you want to be an actual competitor and you actually want this to be a realistic thing, whoever is the owner of Impact Wrestling TNA, you got to buy free agents. You got to bring in people. You can't be cheap. Because you want to know what happens when you're cheap? Your fans start revolting. And then they call you a poverty franchise in Major League Baseball, even though you've won 4 World Series championships in a 20-year span. You become a poverty franchise. And nobody wants to watch you. Nobody wants to spend the hundreds of dollars to go to your games and watch you play. So if you don't go out and you don't sign the free agents to bring into your wrestling promotion, who's going to want to go and see you? How much of Steve Macklin do you think you're going to get out of him? The guy is about as entertaining as one of the paper bags that they used to hand out for Cody Rhodes when he was dashing Cody Rhodes.
He needs to bring his brother, Burt Macklin.
And Jeremy Macklin.
Yes.
Former receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, which they'll be mentioned later on in the podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Not Burt Macklin. And Moose. Yeah, there we go. That's what we want to see, Moose. I would say, Taven and Saban, or not Taven, Alex Shelley and Chris Saban, I would say them. I would say them because they're actually the only 2 people on the show that I would actually watch besides the human weapon, Josh Alexander. But it's like you can only get so much out of what you have. Frankie Kazarian? What is this, 2009? Is he the Suicide character again? That's what it was, right? He was Suicide, not Parasite, right?
I forget if Kazarian was Suicide at one point. I know Daniels played Suicide at one point. Several people played Suicide. I'm going to guess Kazarian probably was one of them.
But it's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, you're going to bring back Shark Boy? What are you going to do?
Hell yeah.
I'm just saying, I was actually interested in TNA, and then they went and fired Scott D'Amore, and I have no interest in it. And now this guy's going to end up in AEW, and they're not going to know what to do, and he's going to be booking all this shit the way they want. And Tony Khan's going to want to play with his action figures his way, as he's doing lines of coke off of his sex toys.
Hey, Kenny.
I'm doing a line off your butt, Kenny. It's your action figure, but, it's the same thing. It's still your butt. Yeah,
Chris Brown saying his understanding Scott D'Amore wanted to increase TNA's payroll, and Anthem wants to cut costs. One thing, like, they just signed, Nick Nemeth. They've been making some signings, and with having the partnership with WWE, kind of, sort of, or at least with Endeavor, and having Jordan Grace show up at the Royal Rumble, I can see where Anthem is like on, okay, we're moving in a good direction, but it's like the man who brought them back from the brink. You fire that guy. Morale in your locker room is higher than it's been in years. And you fire the dude
solely responsible
for it. There are rumors out there that, similar to like Bischoff back in the day, that he was trying to buy TNA from Anthem. And apparently he either couldn't get enough investors, or Anthem thinks TNA is too big of a property to let go of.
Because they're not Ted Turner.
Right. But the amount of sense this makes is like watching a Joe Biden press conference.
Oh, God.
The man doesn't know whether it's freaking Friday or Pluto. You're talking about the man who saved the company. who brought it back, like, from, like, going, this is going away forever, to, like, hey, it's the number 3 company in the U.S., and really it is, like, rebuilding itself. He was part of the rebranding. A successful rebranding. We're going to fire the guy that made us successful again.
This would be like if a football team makes the playoffs and then fires their head coach because they made the playoffs. And he wants to bring in free agents to make the team better, and the team just wants to get work. So basically, what
Sounds
you're
like the Cowboys.
it does sound like the Cowboys. The Cowboys and shit.
Man.
But yeah, that was another one that was not on my bingo card for 2024. Jeez Louise, my freaking bingo card is going to be filled out before the end of by my birthday. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, the free space. I'm enjoying pro wrestling more than I have in years because of the internal and external chaos. Whether it's Billy Corrigan believing that he was going to have like a primary show on the CW network only for
The
NXT to swoop in and undermine him, or the man who saves TNA to get fired from TNA, Vince McMahon getting fired with cause and maybe going to jail.
And has a federal prosecution against him. I'm still convinced that somehow, some way, this whole Vince McMahon thing is going to be intertwined with Donald Trump, and that's why I think it's just going to get uglier and messier. Because there's going to be some kind of a conversation between the two of them because they're looking for anything. You know they're looking for anything.
Well, and with the press conference that President Biden had the other day, he will need anything he can to maintain his presidency.
I mentioned that later in the podcast, too.
There are many things that could be good, bad, or brainless this week. I mean, one of my favorite things, and you would definitely not be, would have not known about this going in, but Effin Marks Hall of Famer Tim sent me one of the greatest clips on the internet to happen this week.
PN News actually fell through the ring after falling off of the scaffold?
No, even better. His brother referred to himself as a social media influencer, and his wife could not stop laughing for 10 minutes.
Was it?
And he just kept the camera rolling.
Was it Tommy or Teddy?
Teddy.
Okay.
The one that was DDT'd in my parents' living room in front of his mother.
Well, I had to make sure it wasn't fellow Evan Marks Hall of Famer Tommy that was the social media influencer.
Right.
So I had to ask the question.
The United States in 2024 is quite something. We got the dementia patient, and we've got the psychopath who might have been on Epstein Island doing shit that you're like, no. So I will move forward in my support of making America brainless again in 2024.
I'm telling you, everyone, I may have skeletons in my closet, but at least I don't have dementia and I'm not an angry Cheeto. That's all I'm going to say.
Who's had weird, crazy sex things going on with children.
Yes, we're talking about the angry Cheeto.
Yeah.
The only skeletons in my closet is all the negative things I've sent to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega over the years. All the other, stuff like that. But I mean, you think about this. Name me a better candidate in 2024 to lead this country in 2025 and for the next 8 years than the gentleman that is sitting to, I guess it's my right, on your left or whatever it is on that screen right here. This fucking guy right here. This is who you vote for. When you show up at the election on the day to vote, that first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, you make sure you go in there and you do not circle for Dementia Joe. You do not circle for the angry for the angry cheater Donald Trump. No. You go down and you get to that right end and you circle that little bubble right there. You take your little pen, you click it a couple times, and you put the Brainless one and submit your ballot into the machine, unless it's the state of Connecticut and you're not voting Democrat, it goes right into the trash can. And you make sure you vote for the Brainless one this coming November to lead this country back to being as brainless as it was before. Because I will guarantee you this. When I win the election, my first order of business when I take over is to bomb China. Not close the border of Mexico. No. I'm bombing China right off the map. But then we work on the border. And then
I think you might get... I don't think you're going to beat Harambe, but I think you're going to get some votes.
Come on.
Harambe has a strong candidacy. Again,
I'm going to put it out there right now. If I somehow, some way get 100 votes in this election, I will do the stupid human trick like I always do. Maybe instead of the mana lantern, live on the podcast, I'll get my whole chest shaved. But I have to, or not shaved, waxed. I will have my whole chest waxed live on the podcast if I actually somehow, some way pull off the greatest miracle of all and get 100 votes in this upcoming election, taking 100 votes from the dementia patient and the angry Cheeto.
I am going to reach out to all of our relatives.
Don't even waste your breath with my father. He's already told me it would be colder than a cold day in hell before he voted for me. And I already know my mother's not voting for me either, because there's no way. Roses are red, violets are blue. No matter how you vote, my mother will vote blue.
Make America brainless again. Oh, wait.
Maba.
Wait. To be fair, aren't we already there?
Yes, but this is to bring us to the brainless. Cousin Jay, you're ruining this for me, okay? What do you want me to do? I can't come up with another You know what? Fine. You know what? Fine. That's what I'm going to do. Next week for the podcast, I'm going to come up with
brainless slogans.
Oh, no. I have a very special one in regards to Elimination Chamber next week. So I will come up with a new campaign slogan. No. Better yet, for 2 weeks from now, I will have my list of my top 10 new campaign slogans, because 2 weeks will probably be plenty of time for me to get myself in my very special place to make these lists where I come up with my new 10 campaign slogans, and we pick the new one in 2 weeks.
Okay. Sounds great.
But 100 votes, yes. I will have my chest completely waxed on this podcast if I get 100 votes in the upcoming election.
Yeah.
Whether it's for the brainless one, whether it's for Robert Guy, whatever it is, if I get 100 votes, it happens.
All right. I'm going to try to convince your dad. I mean,
I could guarantee
he can write in his own name.
He could.
And it'll be similar enough.
We got 99 votes for Robert Guy, and we have one El Diablo Blanco. What the fuck? What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. Chris Brown chiming in saying, we've been brainless since 2016.
We've been brainless since 2008. Let's be serious. Actually, no. We've really been brainless since 2000.
To be fair.
I enjoyed George W. I thought he was a pretty decent president. But let's be real. We have not recovered. Actually, no, we really haven't recovered since his dad left office. Ever since we put Bubba in office in 1992, we have not been the same.
Technically 93. 93. It was 92 election.
Yes, it was 92 election.
1993.
Yes, this country has not been the same since January 20th of 1993. And even I knew that it was January 20th of 1993, as opposed to Biden, who didn't even know when his last day in office was as vice president. I'm going to stop because that's not what I'm not about this. No, I'm not doing this.
All right. We'll move along to another thing that seems semi-brainless. Mustafa Ali getting a title shot in his first match in TNA. I know that he had some time in TNA before his WWE days. I know that there is a precedent as far as sometimes people coming in immediately and getting a title shot. Whether it's Santino Marella or Hulk Hogan. I like Mustafa. I think he's a very solid in-ring performer. I enjoy the fact that he has gone out there and, brought himself forward, trying to make a name for himself outside of WWE. But putting him in a title match immediately, he was never that, on that level, in my view. He was the head of Retribution.
Slap
if that is your claim to fame, you could be a great performer. You can have at least a little notoriety out there. He's trying to take a version of when Cody left WWE and doing his own version of it. I'm sure that he is going to have a very good match for the X Division Championship. And I think it's at TNA's Hard to Kill. Going against Chris Sabin. I'm sorry, it's No Surrender. And it's happening, I think, next weekend. Next weekend or this weekend? Nope. February 23rd.
So 2 weeks from today.
I'm sure it'll be a fine match.
Oh, I'm sure of it too.
But, your first match, you get a title shot. At least Brody Lee had to beat Marco Stunt.
It's never going to get old. 3 jobbers and a Marco Stunt, and then you're number one contender for the AEW World's Champion. You just want a match with MJF, you got to get 10 lashes, fight Nick Gage in a pizza cutter match. You have to freaking wrestle 37 ninjas. But no, if you want a title shot, all you got to do is beat 3 local competitors and a Marco Stunt.
You're ready to roll.
See, I could book for AEW. You don't have to have a brain. Just like you don't need to have a brain to run the country. We see it every day.
We've seen it for many years. Every day for many years.
Yes.
So good on Mustafa Ali for getting a title shot. Good on him for getting his name out there and making the most of his opportunity outside of WWE. We'll see where he goes, but it feels like trying to start him in title matches much.
Yeah, I agree. But since you did mention title matches, I do want to mention 2. One that was announced last week, and I also want to talk about a title change that happened this week.
When you talk about Brainless.
Oh, the title change isn't even on my good, bad. Technically, yes, it's on my bad because obviously I'm going for a record. But I want to talk about the positive thing first. Last week on SmackDown, Bayley came out and said she had made her decision of who she was going to wrestle, and her and Damage Control were in the ring, and they were hoping that she was going to pick Rhea Ripley. And she said, "You know what? and she spoke in Japanese to prove to them that she could speak Japanese. And she goes, I heard all the horrible things that you've said about me, Io Sky. I challenge you to a match at WrestleMania. And then she got beat up by Damage Control, which was what we were waiting for, just like we were waiting for F and Mark's Hall of Famer, Sean O's favorite wrestler, Tommaso Ciampa, to turn on Johnny Gargano in NXT.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for the implosion of Damage Control, and it finally happened. And we're getting Bayley versus Io Sky for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Cousin Jay, before I get your take on this, if they're going to do this and they're going to give us face Bayley again, for the love of God, we better get those wacky waving inflatable arm Bayley buddies!
With a couple of buddies!
That's what I need. If they're going to give me Bayley, I want all of it. But what were your thoughts on how they had the whole thing unfold on Friday last week when Bayley challenged Io Sky?
Even heading back to the Royal Rumble, even heading back before the Royal Rumble, that they've done an outstanding job of like creating the dissension within the ranks where like, oh yeah, Bayley more or less just playing stupid for a long time and coming from the Ric Flair spot to win the Royal Rumble, and you know the reveal of like, oh, by the way, I know what you've been saying the whole time, almost like, yeah, you've been messing with me, but I've been using you a bit to get where I want to get. In her impassioned speech, in her promo that she did, it was really good stuff. I know Bayley for a long time was somebody that you were not a big fan of, and I think she is slowly but surely won you over. This is not like the Dom Mysterio like switch where like it felt like within 3 weeks Dom went from like, what a piece of crap, to all of a sudden you're like, oh, you.
It took me, you're absolutely right. It took me some time to get really into the whole Bayley, fandom and everything, but she has been doing some unbelievable work. She deserves this moment at WrestleMania. She deserved to win the Royal Rumble. Let's be serious for 2 seconds. Just because I didn't pick her to win the Royal Rumble a couple weeks ago doesn't mean I didn't want her to win the Royal Rumble. Her winning the Royal Rumble was the right call. And I'll argue until the day I die about that. And she's going to have a great match with Io Sky.
Yeah.
But her character work, she has been absolutely killing her character work as of late. I am on board with this. I want to see Bayley, and I want her to have her moment at WrestleMania. We always talk about WrestleMania moments and how people always talk about having WrestleMania moments and how am I going to have my WrestleMania moment? She deserves this one.
Yeah.
Whether she gets a main event of night 1, night 2, night 4, night 27, don't know. But Bayley needs this win. And I think she's going to get it too.
I think it would be an incredible payoff to a storyline that they've been, clearly building towards since the moment the Damage Control started. Again, that was really the Triple H coming out party at that SummerSlam where he brought back a lot of the people that Vince had fired, or at least marginalized, and Bayley clearly has put in the work. She is a solid performer, but if you're talking about character-wise, from where she started to where she is,
oh God, yeah,
there aren't many that have made the same metamorphosis. Chris Brown in chat saying we will never see the carefree, happy-go-lucky Bayley with the wacky waving inflatable tube men ever again. That Bayley is dead and buried.
It died at WrestleMania 35 when they didn't inflate. The sad puppy dog look on her face when they wouldn't inflate will forever haunt me, just like Cassius Ohno getting stuck between the bottom rope and the ring mat.
Yeah.
And it happened. You can't lie to me, freaking Periscope. Yeah. Peacock. But then we got a title change this week. Boy, oh boy, I couldn't wait for this one. We have new tag team champions in AEW. Cousin Jay, would you like to take a guess who they are?
Well, it's Sting and Darby Allin, and apparently Sting did not want to be tag team champions. You know what this means?
You know damn well what this means. I'm not saying it. I refuse to say it. Just because when those fuckheads thought that I could hate them any more than I couldn't hate them any more than I already do. They've proven me wrong.
They go and do something like this.
And hell, they had a big celebration. They had the confetti, and then the fuckheads came out and attacked Sting and Darby Allin. So they are setting up for that.
And I'm pretty sure Sting is not going to retire as a tag team champion. Pretty sure.
I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet money that he does not retire a tag team champion. I almost got put into Twitter jail or X jail, whatever the hell it is, because I was going to go after people that were saying, well, Sting could retire a champion. But then I was going to say some words, and then I was going to end up in jail, and then, it's only going to be a matter of time before Lauren Bobert gets me in trouble again.
Yeah.
I just don't. And it's funny, too, because the whole thought of it makes me sick, Cousin Jay. And I'm sorry, this is too good of a segue for this. The Sting and Darby Allin winning the tag team champions just to drop the titles to douchebag and douchebag is exactly why we are at the point that we are at now. Because it really got me to think, Cousin Jay. Would these two? Oh no, it's not a rant. As much as you think it's a rant, I apologize, but I'm going a different direction here.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to see, no, I wouldn't. I'm not even going to lie. I would not want to see these fucking assholes win the tag team titles and end Sting's career that way. No. In fact, I could give you 10 reasons why, or 10 things why I'd rather see than Nick Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson, whatever they are. I don't know, don't care.
Nickel Matt.
There you go. Nickel Matt.
Look at this photo. Oh, wait.
I was going to start singing Creed. But no, Cousin Jay, it got me to think. What would I rather see than the Young Bucks beat Sting in his last match to become tag team champions? Well, I'm going to tell you guys right now, because I got at least 10. I probably could have done a list of 100, but I was kind of pressed for time. But for this week, for my top 10 reasons, or the top 10 things I would rather see than Nick and Matt Jackson beat Sting in his last match to become tag team champions of AEW. Number 10, I would rather watch Nia Jax wrestle Shayna Baszler. Number 9, I would rather watch the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Number 8, I would rather watch a wrestling match between the Great Khali and El Gigante. Oh, it gets better than this, Cousin Jay. Don't you worry about a thing.
No.
Number 7, I'd rather watch Kenny fight the fuck doll again. Yeah. The blow up doll and Kenny and the Tokyo Dome. 7.5 stars. Meltzer watching, playing with his nipples. Number 6, and I know you can agree with this for this one. Number 6, I'd rather watch the Yankees win the World Series. Yeah, you know how serious I am now. It only gets more serious after 6. Number 5, I'd rather watch a porno starring Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler.
I thought you were going to say one night in China.
China. I wanted to go really, really extra, and as much as I not want to watch Nia Jax wrestle, I'd rather watch her wrestle than on Pornhub.
Kim said, pass me the great Khali, please.
Number 4, I'd rather sit through another 4 more years of Biden and Kamala.
Wow.
Yeah, told you this was serious. And you think that's serious. Number 3, I would much rather see. Hold on. I have to take the hat off first. Number 3, I would much rather see the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl.
What? What?
Give me a minute.
What?
I legitimately almost puked on that one. I would much rather see the Dallas Cowboys win the. Nope. My body's not letting me say it. I can't say it. Can you finish the statement for me?
No.
Just say it. I can't say. I cannot say I'd rather watch the Cowboys win the Super Bowl.
He would rather see the Cowboys win the Super Bowl.
I would
you no longer had to watch their highlights of winning the Super Bowl on VHS.
On VHS, yes. If that's number 3, the Yankees are 6, and Nia Jax in a porno is in my top 5, that's got to say something about 2 and 1. The number 2 thing I would much rather see than the Young Bucks take the tag team titles from Sting and Darby Allin in Sting's last match. I'd much rather see Ric Flair come out of retirement for one more match. That's 2 through 10, Cousin Jay. Would you care to venture a guess what number 1 is? Put my hat back on now that I'm not disrespecting my Giants anymore.
Vince Russo booking Tony Khan.
Ooh, that's a good one, but close. Number 1, I would rather sit through Tony Khan making a big announcement on Dynamite Rampage or Collision.
You got that? You got that wish this week.
Now that I think about it, honest to goodness, the last thing I'd want to see of all those things on the list is the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to flip-flop. I'm going to move Tony Khan's announcements to 3, and I'm putting the Cowboys as the number 1 thing. Because really, that is literally the only thing I would rather see the Cowboys win the Super Bowl over is the Young Bucks winning the tag team titles. Just the mere thought of the Dallas Cowboys actually winning another Super Bowl made me gag. Because there's no, because honestly, I've been subjected to enough Yankee fans and their toxic venom after winning a World Series that I don't need to hear any more of it ever again. But I've gone through it and I've just accepted it at this point. Eagle fans, when they won that freaking fluke Super Bowl a few years ago, that was horrible. Every championship, LeBron James, his fans just make it that much worse. No. Take all of that. Take Duke fans. Take elite fans. Take every single terrible sports fan base. Just mix them all together. Drop some nitroglycerin on top of it. And then throw it into a dumpster full of cow shit. And that is the Dallas Cowboys.
And you know who lights that match? Duke Drosy.
Exactly. That's when you know that shit got real. When I'd rather watch the Cowboys win a Super Bowl than have to watch the Bucks become tag team champions. So you could guarantee, I guarantee it, Tony Khan, on all the coke up your nose, I will not watch another one of your AEW things for longer than a half a second as long as I live once those fuckheads become tag team champions. It's bad enough they're getting Sting's retirement match. They don't need to win the tag team titles on top of it. Shove each other up their own asses.
Speaking of the AEW tag team division, one Cash Wheeler, who allegedly showcased a weapon while in a alleged road rage incident in Florida, is being prosecuted, and they're moving forward with gun charges that could see Cash Wheeler going to prison for up to 5 years and get fined. It feels a bit excessive, but I don't think people should be like going, hey, by the way, I got a gun.
Right.
Don't mess with me. I could shoot you. It's like, dude, you're Cash Wheeler. You could beat the shit out of the dude, probably. All that being said, I think this is going to end up in Jeff Harvey territory, where like it's going to get like continued, and you know he's going to end up having to spend like 5 hours of his time, probably 40 hours to 100 hours of his time doing community service and saying, sorry, I shouldn't have shown you my gun. That's what I think is going to happen. But I mean, clearly they want to make an example of him down in the Sunshine State, where they apparently they try to have some law and order down there.
Ron DeSantimonious.
So, what are your thoughts on Cash Wheeler here? Do you think they're going too far in prosecuting him over brandishing a weapon?
No, because
allegedly, while he was maybe a little bit irate about something that happened in traffic.
No, because road rage is just a thing that is just a common occurrence. I mean, we had one in this area, right in Newport News, right down the street from where I am, where we had a guy who brandished his gun out and pointed it at a woman as he was driving, getting off the highway. And I said, oh, yeah, that's great because I only get off that highway, almost every day.
Oh, no.
So that just makes me feel good. So, no, I have no problem for this. Look, you guys sit there and you want to defend your Second Amendment rights, but then you go and you do shit like this? This is my problem that I have with gun owners. I don't care. You have every right as a citizen of this country to carry a gun. Does not give you the right to flash it around saying, here, look, I got a gun. Because you know what happens when you fuck around with guns and you're not that safe with them and you think you're going to just intimidate people with what you do? You shoot cinematographers and blame it on somebody else.
Right.
So I have zero issue with them kind of making an example of Cash Wheeler. 5 years, that's a little excessive. If they wanted to give him like 30 days in jail, like you said, maybe 100 hours of community service, probation for 6 months, yeah, I'm okay with that. If you want to make an example of him, just because you're a professional wrestler and you're in the spotlight and people see you, does not mean you're excluded to what could be happening. I know that, saying that and being an AEW star is kind of an oxymoron, but at the end of the day, when you're supposed to be the top guys, you're supposed to be the fan favorite tag team, and you're supposed to be, a role model for kids, and you're getting arrested and you're brandishing a gun? No.
Or you end up like Plaxico Burress. Now, didn't that happen when he was on the Jets?
No.
Jay. Oh, wait, he came back and went to the Jets.
No. Yes, that's exactly what happened. No, Cousin Jay. That happened a year after the Giants beat the Patriots in that 18-1 season. Plaxico was at the club with Antonio Pierce, who's now the head coach of the Raiders, and shot himself in the fucking leg because he had his gun that was not registered in the state he was in, and shot himself in the dick. He cheddar bobbed himself. The best part about that, even though it absolutely ruined our chances of a back-to-back championship, because we were clearly the best team in the NFL that year, and he just got a monster contract too, and then he shot himself in the balls, and then we fell out of the playoffs, and we got fucking eliminated, and it's just we haven't been the same.
We'll blow it in the playoffs.
Oh, they blew it. They shot their load in the playoffs there. They had no shot after Plaxico shot himself. And it only got better because not only that, but then, shooting yourself is one thing, but shooting your fingers off with a firecracker, that's even better. Y'all want to know what it's like being a Giants fan? I can dedicate an entire episode of the podcast of being a fan of all of my teams, not even just the Giants. Because I can sit here and go all night about the Red Sox, too. And being a Magic fan, oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll have 2 first-round picks and not draft Gilbert Arenas. Speaking of guns. You want to know what it's like being a Giants fan? Do you know who Dave Brown is?
The greatest Duke quarterback in NFL history.
I'll tell you right now, if I ever see a therapist, that's at least 3 sessions right there. It's just Dave Brown in the Giants uniform. You know, it's great because, yes, as great as it was, we're the reason why the Gatorade bath is a thing. And now that it's also not as great knowing that we're the reason why people, teams take a knee at the end of the game. So Joe Plasarcha can't fumble the ball for Herman Edwards to pick up and give the Eagles a miracle win in the Meadowlands. We have Disney World now for Super Bowl MVPs because of Phil Simms. But now you can't play with firecrackers because of JPP or hold a gun in your sweatpants because of plaques.
And you can't teach that.
And Daniel Jones' contract is so bad with the Giants that it almost makes me forget about David Price's entire tenure with the Red Sox.
Or Chris Sale's contract.
I wasn't as upset about Chris Sale's because Chris Sale's contract never would have happened if David Price was an actual ace. But I could dedicate an entire podcast to David Price too, but we're not doing that.
Chris Brown saying AJ versus Drew McIntyre is the first Elimination Chamber qualifying match, and McIntyre wearing the shirt again. And Seth officially faces winner of Chamber at WrestleMania.
Okay. So that means Drew's going over in this match at least. I'll be honest though, Cousin Jay. I'll be absolutely honest. Drew McIntyre has earned that shot now. His character development as he's gone full out heel has been spectacular. I have enjoyed Drew McIntyre the last few weeks. He has been cutthroat. The shirt, the freaking tombstone, peace out. Are you kidding me? And you know what? I did go back and watch the Royal Rumble, and I'm kind of glad that I did. I'm glad I went and rewatched it because there was parts of the Royal Rumble that I missed because I was in the bathroom taking a leak. But I rewatched it, because I wanted to see where CM Punk got hurt, and he did get hurt in the Future Shock DDT because you see him when he drops, he goes and grabs his right, his right arm where his tricep burst. But I realized that I missed R-Truth trying to tag into the Royal Rumble.
I mean, between that and R-Truth entering the Women's Rumble at the same time, Nia Jax.
Yes.
When you realize that Nia Jax was the one who hurt him when she was in the Men's Rumble. So much good stuff there. Such good shit.
And I think once I took the idea of once I realized that there was no surprise entrance and I just let the Royal Rumble unfold the way it did, it was underwhelming, yes, the whole pay-per-view, but that Royal Rumble was not bad. It did not deserve the negativity that I gave it last week just because there wasn't enough surprises for me in it. And like you said, it just speaks of the health and the depth of the men's roster. Because thank God, because I thought that when I first watched it, and I thought it the second time too, thank God the fans reacted to Sami Zayn the way they did when he was number 30. Because if they booed him out of the building, that would have been worse than booing Rey Mysterio 10 years ago. Lackluster, but it was still a pretty solid pay-per-view. Just
bad Rumbles are like bad pizza. They're still pretty good.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Drop my pen.
Drop it like it's hot.
Dropped it like it's hot.
All right. Orton versus Sami Zayn is another chamber qualifying match tonight.
Orton can win that one.
Yeah.
Orton can win anytime he's in the ring.
Yes.
That's going to be an interesting match, though. I'm surprised they're doing face versus face. I mean, then again, they're doing heel versus heel in the first match, so fuck do I know. What is this, some AEW shit?
And with all they're doing with Drew, it certainly makes you think that either they've agreed to a new contract or WWE feels confident that they're going to re-sign him. And maybe even Drew realizes, like, all right, pastures out there aren't really any greener. Maybe I'll stick around. And they could possibly do like an injury angle with him so he takes a couple of months off. You know, if he really needs like to have a little bit of the mental and physical break from the toll of 200 plus days on the road. Triple H has been a bit more like lenient with that, giving people the time they need. Because you know, one thing that's different between Vince and Triple H is Triple H did that.
Right.
Did that for a long time. Even after he was married to Stephanie, was already a made man, he still, for many years, would still do the road schedule. He didn't have a Shawn Michaels or Undertaker-esque or Roman Reigns-esque deal where he would just do TVs.
Right.
And I think part of it is he had to prove to the boys that he was still one of the boys and not one of the office workers.
Right.
I'm still in this. I'm still one of you. And because of that, Triple H, I think, has far more sympathy and empathy for the performers. And after his heart attack, he feels that even more.
Right.
Where Vince was like, you're at my beck and call 24/7. If you're not at my beck and call 24/7, you don't love this industry as much as you should, and you're not worthy of being in my company. Triple H understands family, no matter what, comes first. The heart attack put that in perspective for him.
Yep.
So, a much better, kinder, gentler WWE while we still get a really good product and let the people who need their damn rest get it.
And honest to goodness, you can even use Drew as a way, like even if he doesn't win the title, let's say he wins the Chamber in Perth and he goes and he could main event WrestleMania and he wrestles Seth for the World Heavyweight Championship. He doesn't even have to beat Seth. He could be so enraged after losing to Seth at WrestleMania. He beats Seth, senseless, and that's when Priest cashes in. If everybody's still, because I'm curious what they're going to do with Priest because he's getting close to that 1 year mark.
Right.
So.
And speaking of the Spooky Pals. As much as all the headlines for the WrestleMania press conference were with the four main male participants between Seth, Cody, Roman, and The Rock, we did have Rhea and Becky, jawing at each other. It looks like that's where we're heading for WrestleMania. Why would you do that at the press conference if you're just teasing us to not have it happen?
Because they're going to swerve us and have Nia Jax win the women's championship at Elimination Chamber. So I think hey, you know what? They're going to give me a reason.
Things happen. They could make it a triple threat match, but
God, I don't want to see Nia Jax at WrestleMania again. When she beat freaking Alexa Bliss that year, I almost shot myself. I don't need to see that thing at WrestleMania ever. I don't need to see her in a wrestling ring. So when they called her out,
that did not make your top 10 list about the Bucks.
What, Nia Jax?
Yeah.
Her wrestling any match was number 10.
But I'm just saying in general, her winning a championship,
that would require her getting in the ring. So I don't want to watch her wrestle. So why would I want to watch her be champion? I'd rather. I won't even go that far. No, we're not going to go that far. Okay. That is a path that we are not taking again because I have already said enough that almost made me keel over a few times. So I'm good. I'm not going to say I'd rather watch the Cowboys win the Super Bowl than Nia Jax win the WWE Women's Championship.
He's gonna puke.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine. It is fine. Fine. It is fine.
All right. So, in better news than throw up, much better news, Montez Ford dropped an album this week, which actually coincides with the debut of he and Bianca's reality series on Hulu. Good for Montez. I have not heard the song yet, but you know what? Anybody who puts their heart and soul into music, like, you're leaving yourself out there in so many ways. The fact that you're able to do that, good on you. And again, putting yourself out there as far as having the reality show. As much as I'm sure WWE is like, oh, and we'd really like you to have this reality show, and it might be part of a thing that they can push him in the future, or at least start maybe more of an ascent for him. Good on Montez for putting together an album, and good on him and Bianca for allowing their personal lives to be captured and talk about it.
I agree. And that was one of the things I was excited about when I first turned on Hulu again for the first time in months after I switched over from YouTube TV. Was I saw that was the first thing that popped up, and I was like, "Oh, I want to see this because it's going to be entertaining." I'm excited for the new show with Bianca and Montez Ford. I think it's going to be fantastic, and it gives me another reason to be happy about Hulu being part of my life again.
Yeah,
yeah, that and all the mock drafts that are pissing me off with the Giants
and Vice TV.
and Vice TV, yes. So I could watch Marty Jannetty just be incoherent and babbling and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he runs our country or something.
Right. So we brought up WrestleMania a lot.
Did we?
And what the heck's going to happen on night one? I'll be there. They have changed the starting time. They've moved it a half hour forward. It is starting now at 6:30 p.m. So, I mean, I might end up with a 37-hour WrestleMania.
Wow.
But quite honestly, it's like, okay, so they moved it up a half hour earlier. Do you expect night one to finish before 11?
No.
That means at least 4.5 hours. That means that they added that half hour for Roman Reigns' entrance.
Yeah, if he's there for night one. Maybe the pre-show's only a half an hour. They can't subject us to 2 hours of pre-show. That is ridiculous. 2 hours of pre-show, just talking about the shit that we're gonna watch all weekend. You don't even have to watch Raw and SmackDown. You can just watch the pre-shows because they give you enough stuff that it covers everything.
Right.
But it's like I don't want to see that shit. I just want to get to the wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't need to know about all the innuendos that I don't need to know about. Just give me my wrestling. Yeah, start it at 6:30. Go for it. What are you guys going to do? You're going to have Santa Claus stand in the ring and have the fans throw snowballs at him? I know it's Philadelphia. Maybe they
I mean, if they supply the fans with snowballs, I may throw a snowball at Santa just to keep that alive.
You have to. All the Eagle fans hate me for the fact that I constantly bring it up, but it's like, come on, it's snowballs for Santa Claus.
Right.
Which will be my fantasy football league name at some point. Since I will be retiring Team Ramrod after its 8th place finish this year.
Very sad.
Very sad indeed.
All right, Brainless One. Anything else you have on your notes?
I just wanted to mention real quick, NXT TakeOver last weekend was exceptional. Dijak and Joe Gacy beat the shit out of each other, and it was two big beefy men slapping the shit out of each other, so I was on board with that. They had been teasing the Trick Williams and the whole Carmelo Hayes thing, and they finally went through with it when Carmelo Hayes attacked Trick Williams after he lost to Dragunov for the title. Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin won the Dusty Tournament Finals. Braun Breaker's going to be a star. And I'm telling you right now, spoiler alert, that man is going to be the next Intercontinental Champion. He is beating Gunther. And if you really, really want to book it that way, The last person to pin Gunther in a wrestling match was Braun Breaker. That's your guy. That kid's going to be a stud. Carmelo Hayes is going to be a stud. Trick Williams is going to be a stud. You got a lot of good young talent, and it's Breaker's time. And I love the fact that they've spent Raw this week and SmackDown last week teasing where he could potentially go. That kid, look out. He's already getting the fans' attention, which was one of the things that happened a lot with some of these NXT people coming up to the main rosters. They're like, there's not as much hype as there was when they were down in NXT, like the Johnny Garganos. Breaker's already getting a reaction. The fans ate up all of his time in the Royal Rumble. He is going to be a stud, and he is going to be the next Intercontinental Champion. And I fully believe that after seeing, especially the last few months, that kid's got it. He is going to be – he's a freak. He is freakishly fast, and he's strong. Look out. But again, another NXT takeover, which is just like pizza. Even a bad NXT takeover is better than no NXT takeover because there is no such thing as a bad NXT takeover. And last week delivered just as much as any other one. If you all don't get a chance to, you should go check it out. It was fantastic. I forget. I think it was Vendetta or something like that. Something with V in the name, but it was another fantastic show. Check it out. Braun Breaker is a GOAT already.
Yeah?
Yeah. But that's all I got. I had to mention the takeover because I thoroughly enjoy watching them every time they're on because NXT is really my favorite thing of all the wrestling that is on TV. So
All right.
do you have anything else, Cousin Jay?
No.
So what you're saying is that the last thing or the next thing that we need to do is our good,
Our bad.
and our brainless.
Yeah.
All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
There were a lot of things that could have been in the good category. There are a lot of things this week that could have been in the bad category, and a lot of things in the brainless category.
That I cannot argue with.
But what we saw yesterday at the press conference, and just in general, this storyline with The Rock and Roman and Cody, and now Seth, they swerved us multiple times, and for me, have me guessing in the most incredible way. I don't know what the hell is going to happen next, but I'm really excited to see what the hell they come up with. That press conference, all of the little nuggets that they've been kind of putting along the line, like when the people on Family Guy are trying to capture James Woods with Reese's Pieces.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
That's what they've been doing to us. It's been phenomenal.
Yep.
So I'm going to say that storyline, as much as the Bloodline storyline, as far as what they had been doing with Roman for the last probably 6 months, felt like it stale. The piece of chewed gum that lost its flavor.
Fruit stripe gum.
They now added a new, exciting, big element that just put it into a different place.
Yeah.
So that is my good for this week.
I was going to go that route, but I had a feeling you were going to go, and you know me, I like to keep it, unless it's a no-brainer slam dunk, I like to keep it different. So I'm going to Drew McIntyre. Honest to goodness, that was a great promo. He was actually the bigger star between him, Cody, and Seth on Monday. That's how I felt the way he was talking. I've enjoyed Drew McIntyre's work the last few weeks. His heel run has been fantastic. He's been, and you know me as a huge fan of Punk. The fact that McIntyre's been kind of it's a Punk has been kind of funny. Even though he was the reason why CM Punk is actually not at WrestleMania because of that Future Shock DDT, but shit happens. But Drew McIntyre, your work as of late has gained my good for this week.
And I'll just say that Drew McIntyre, the current character, to me, I mean, it's slightly different, but more or less, when he came back to NXT, this is kind of the same character.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
So what do you got for your bad?
I got to go with Anthem firing Scott D'Amore. We're talking about a man who has been working in TNA wrestling since 2003. He brought the company back from the brink. Anthem, you would not have something that would be worthy and something that could add value to your company if it wasn't for this man. And you end up taking him and literally you blink your eyes after he was part of an extremely successful rebrand and you fire him because he wanted to bring in bigger name wrestlers to make the company a bigger deal, and you want to cut costs. You have to spend money to make money. You can't always go bargain basement to make it work.
That's when you end up with Corey Kluber starting opening day for the Red Sox.
Sad.
Yes.
So that is my bad for this week. Brainless one, what is your bad?
1, 2, 3, 4. 5 weeks in a row. The Young Bucks are 1 week away from tying a personal record of getting my bad or brainless, as they have gotten it a 5th week in a row. As that Sting and Darby Allin winning the tag team titles was just bad, because it now looks like not only are the Bucks going to end Sting's career, but they're going to win the tag team titles in the process, which is by all accounts the last thing I want to see. Not like I'm watching. I haven't watched AEW in months. Honestly, don't miss it. Wasn't even worth my time. Wasn't even worth my effort. I was wasting valuable brain cells that I don't have because I'm brainless watching this crap. But this would be the icing on the cake, the diabetes icing on the cake for this, is if they win the tag team title, so that they get my bad. And if they can find a way next week to piss me off, they tie it. And then a week after that, they get the new record that was surpassed by Tony Khan, who got my bad or brainless 6 weeks in a row.
All right.
Not too long ago, too. What do you got for brainless? We're going to differentiate on this one, I can guarantee.
If it's to be believed, and I do believe it, the fact that Billy Jack Haynes allegedly killed his wife. I can't see where I can pick anything else.
I can.
Like somebody's life, like they're not on this planet anymore. And a former pro wrestler, it appears, is the reason for it. It's sad, it's bad, and it's brainless. It should never come to that. Unless you are defending your life, there is zero reason. Zero reason for that. Billy Jack Haynes, you get my brainless.
And that's a good one, because, and honest to goodness, I had already wrote down my good, bad, and brainless before the podcast. And before I even heard about Billy Jack Haynes, because the brainless wife mentioned it to me like 15 minutes before I went live that Billy Jack Haynes did the thing, and I went, shit. I'm like, hopefully Jay's going to cover it, because I had already wrote down my notes and I was already getting all caught up in everything. I honestly, any other week, I would have picked this to be my brainless, but I have to go with what I'm going to go with this week. And I'm going to go with wrestling fans. I'm sorry. You guys are upset about the fact that you were upset last week after The Rock came out and took the spot from Cody, and it looked like he was going to be main eventing against Roman Reigns, even though Cody won the title and needs to finish or won the Royal Rumble to finish the story. You got upset about it. I get it. But to go after The Rock's daughter on social media and threaten her life, see, that's where I have a big, big problem with this. Because I could sit there and I could tell you right now, wrestling fans are indeed the best part about professional wrestling. However, wrestling fans are also the worst part about professional wrestling. To go after somebody because you don't like a booking decision that you just didn't let play out and make murderous threats towards them? A poor girl, she's in her early 20s. It's bad
And
enough.
she had nothing to do with it.
She had nothing to do with it. She had absolutely nothing to do with it. And you gave her shit for no apparent reason other than the fact that your butt hurt. See, you were the crybabies that The Rock was talking about in the McAfee show. I actually support his decisions on those wrestling fans. Because you're the same type of wrestling fans that are upset when anybody talks shit about Kenny and the Bucks. You're the ones that have issues that you're not supposed to have. This is professional wrestling. This is not real life. Social media is the worst thing that's ever happened to professional wrestling, minus what it does for everything for this podcast. Social media has been exceptional. Has been absolutely shit for for wrestling fans on social media because it gives them a free pass to say whatever they feel like it, and it's not right. Elon Musk should be going out there and doing something about this shit. You want to run your shitty ass Twitter X bullshit? Fine. So when somebody's getting threatened with her life by people from your little Twitter thing, you got to get in there and just put your fucking foot down. This is unacceptable. And it's situations like this that makes me sad and disgusted to be a wrestling fan. Because of fans like you that are going to come out there and give Ava Raine, The Rock's daughter, a hard time because her dad leapfrogged Cody to fight Roman at WrestleMania. That's why it's my Brainless. Because
And this speaks to a thing that oftentimes you're more reactionary than I am.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm like, let's see where this goes. If I would have been completely reactionary last week, I would have been like, what the hell is this? I can't believe they did this stupid crap. It's like, and then less than a week later, you're like, oh. It's like, shut the hell up for a minute. See where it actually goes before you go on a tirade about, like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Hold your breath. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. The Rock knows what the hell he's doing. Triple H knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
It's not Vince anymore. I know wrestling fans have PTSD about Vince.
Wait.
So, yeah.
And it's funny,
no
too.
No reason to go after his daughter.
Agreed. And it's crazy, too, because you're absolutely right. I am the king of reactions. I'm reactionary. I don't let it play out. I like to react. Why does he look like Mr. Rogers? This is stupid. They've ruined Bray Wyatt. I admit it. I was wrong. But last week, Rock came out, got a great reaction, loved the stare down. I was digging that shit. I loved it. I said, I can't wait because this is a cliffhanger. Because they're just standing there. They didn't say anything. Let it play out. And this is coming from reactionary Rob. I was thrilled to see The Rock. It's great to see The Rock. I love seeing The Rock. I said, let's see how this plays out. Because it just adds an extra wrinkle to all of this.
Yeah.
To threaten somebody's life over it because you didn't like the way that they booked her dad? Fuck you. Like, seriously, fuck you. Every single one of you fans that threatened her life and wished bodily harm to her, go fuck yourselves. Like, seriously, go fuck yourselves. Take that as a message. Go fucking fuck yourself. Coming from the Brainless one. And you know what? You gave yourselves at least a nomination for Brainless Moment of the Year. You're not going to surpass Vince McMahon, but you're going to at least get nominated.
Right.
Bullshit. Anyway, if you like what you see, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan of the F and Marks podcast, make sure you like us on Facebook, Follow us on the X. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F in Marks. Thank God for that Bristol Eastern education I have. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we go live, you will be notified that we are live, whether it's on the Facebooks, whether it's on the Instagrams, whether it's on the YouTubes. So you can join in the conversation and talk about our favorite sport that we all love to hate, professional wrestling. And make sure you set up the notifications and subscribe to us on Spotify so that you can take the show on the road with you and listen to us. You know, if you got a long trip, if you've got a commute to work, and you could listen to the chat about pro wrestling.
New York Jets football. By the way, earlier in the podcast, you had said a very big word. I forgot what it was, but I'm going to tell you this much. I'm sure that you've said it and everybody in your high school has said it. I can almost guarantee you there's not a single member of my graduating class or any graduating class from my high school that knows what that word is or have ever used it in an actual sentence.
Okay.
This is coming from the guy who had no idea that hyperbole was not hyperbole. Remember that.
Debuted.
I debuted and I paid homage to things. Yes.
Yes.
But anyway, I think that's it. I think we've touched all the bases.
We have. There is absolutely nothing left to talk about. It was a lot to talk about in professional wrestling, but nothing else clearly to talk about. Except for the man.
I hate to break it to you, pals.
When The Rock came back 12 years ago to the company, get him prepared to have a wrestling match at WrestleMania and Survivor Series. And I'm wondering if he's doing the same thing right now.
Oh, I wouldn't surprise me, and I really do hope that this means that we get our boy to make an appearance on television again. One of my personal favorites in the wrestling industry, and a surefire, no doubt, F and Marks Hall of Famer. But that's not why we are here. It's because this gentleman right here, Curtis Axel. I think I can take it from here. Okay, go ahead, Curtis Axel. Well, did you know there, Brainless One, that today, on February 9th of 2024, at an incredible 3,302 days, I, F and Marks Hall of Famer, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, for episode 347 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The Evan Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am, I was, and I will always be the Brainless One. Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.
Enjoy SmackDown.
Yeah.
We'll see ya next week.
Yeah.
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 Yeah.